Hello, dear students. My name is Ruchi Sanger, and this lesson is for Class 11 English Core from the NCERT textbook Hornbill. This is part 1 of Chapter 7, titled The Adventure by Jayant Narlikar. The objectives of this audio lesson are to familiarize you all with the preceding part of the story in your text, to apply basic concepts of the catastrophe theory and parallel universe theory to this particular story, to construct the story in sequence, and to appreciate the science fiction genre of writing. Beta ji, this story is a wonderful piece of science fiction. Okay, but before we actually proceed to the point where the story begins in the textbook, I think it's important to know what happened earlier. Let's try to proceed with the story in chronological order. Before that, the two main characters in this story are number one, Professor Gangadhar Pant Gaitonde, who was an eminent historian from Pune, and his friend Dr. Rajendra Deshpande, a scholar and research fellow. So, Professor Gaitonde and Dr. Rajendra Deshpande, right? So, the story is set in the present world, 1986. Currently, we are in 2020. So, the setting of this story is 1986. It was because Professor Gaitonde was an acclaimed historian and an author that he was often invited to preside over seminars, debates, meetings, things like college functions and such. He had presided over 998 such functions already. Let's clap for him. Excellent. We also need to know that Dr. Deshpande had been his constant partner and supporter in all his ventures. For his 999th function, Professor G. Gaitonde, that's how I'll be referring to him, Professor G had been invited to preside over a seminar in the mathematics department. Historian and maths? Well, it was because this topic was a catastrophe theory. The professor of mathematics weren't very clear about the topic, and so they reached out to Professor Gaitonde. Even though Professor Gaitonde knew about this theory, he thought it would be wise to discuss it with his researcher friend, Dr. Rajendra Deshpande. So, we won't get into the scientific aspects here in depth about the catastrophe theory. If you're keen about details, I would recommend that you look at page 72 of your textbook. That gives you the explanation in detail. In simple terms, catastrophe theory says that even a bit of deviation in any act can cause unexpected effects. We could say that it is a loss of stability in a dynamic system. Riots, sudden incident of one cricketer after the other, one batsman after the other getting out, outcomes of various battles or wars that have happened. Anyway, Professor G was already invited for his 999 seminar and was looking forward to the 1000th seminar. As an historian, it was natural because the topic for the 1000th seminar was rather close to his heart. It was about the third battle of Panipat. And this was a battle fought on 14th January 1761 between the Marathas and the Afghans. So the Maratha side was led by Sadashiv Rao Bhau and Vishwas Rao Peshwa, and the Afghan side was led by Ahmad Shah Abdali. The bottom line, the Marathas had lost. So Professor G was walking back home, preoccupied in his thoughts about the third battle of Panipat. He was also thinking about the application of the catastrophe theory to this. And while he was walking on the sidewalk, he was thinking, what if the Peshwas had won? How would it have impacted our world, our country? So engrossed was he, in his thoughts, that he didn't realize that he had stepped off the sidewalk and onto the Bombay Pune highway. And suddenly, my God, there was a crash. He was hit by a truck. The driver, in panic, got off, looked really hard for the man he had hit, hoping to find him around. No one. He couldn't see him. Had the impact of the collision thrown him at a distance? No. Nowhere to be seen. Where was the professor? Pedaji, he'd vanished. 60 hours later, that's about 2.5 days later, he was found in Bombay, lying on the roadside from Pune to Bombay. What had happened? How had he reached Bombay? We'll come to all that later. You also need to know that Professor G's son, Vinay Gaitunde, worked at the Forbes company in Bombay. So Professor G contacted his son, stayed in Bombay for a few more days, and then took a train back to Pune. He was utterly confused about what had happened. His train, the Deccan Queen, passed the Karjat station, and it was here that he felt something in his pocket which helped him clear the mystery. Let's unravel the details. First of all, Betaji, I'm sure that you all know about an atom and the electrons and orbits. You see, when the light hits the electron, it gets energized, and then the electron jumps from an orbit of lower energy to that of higher energy. Now, if you were a science fiction writer, how would you use this to talk about the neurons in the brain? You would say that the neurons in the brain could also behave in the same way. So, applying this mix of fact and fiction to Professor G, we can say that the collision with the truck and his deep thoughts about the Third Battle of Panipat and the catastrophe theory excited the neurons in his brain. And what do you think happened? Well, he remained there, but his universe shifted, in the sense that his reality shifted. He was in a parallel universe. Confusing. Okay, well, imagine a loaf of bread, right? A full loaf of bread, I think about how many? 20 slices, 13, 8, 12 slices, whatever. Slice 1 is your universe. But all other slices of bread are also parallel universes. In time travel, you move from one place to another, different times. You could be in 1980, you could move to 1640. But when it comes to traveling the realities of the parallel universe, you stay exactly where you are. The time stays the same too, just that the reality of your universe shifts. So Professor G's universe, after the highway accident, shifted. He remained in 1986 at the accident site, but this was a universe with a different reality. He was taken to a hospital in Pune, and there the doctor told him that the Marathas had defeated the Afghans. He was shocked. How did this happen? He finally decided to take a train back to Pune, and back to Bombay from the Pune hospital. And this is where the chapter in your textbook begins. The lesson begins, the Jija Mata Express sped along. I'm going to stop here for part 1. I request you all to read the chapter. Hope to catch you in part 2. Till then, stay safe, stay well, good day.